Hi, this is Chris Young. Welcome to episode 109 of Contemplating Life, Oscar edition. In this episode, we continue to look at Oscar-nominated films. We'll discuss 3 nominated films and a bonus film about men who have devoted their lives to show business. As they age, they look back at the sacrifices they had to make to fulfill their dreams. When I first saw the previews for the film Song Sung Blue, starring Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson, I was really excited because it appeared to be a biopic about singing legend Neil Diamond. Then I saw Jackman on the Stephen Colbert talk show and was greatly disappointed when I learned that it was not about Neil Diamond, but it was the true story of a man and his wife who formed a Neil Diamond tribute band. Mike and Claire Sardina performed in the 1990s around Milwaukee and Chicago under the names Lightning and Thunder. The film is based on a 2008 documentary also titled Song Sung Blue. I was so disappointed that it wasn't an actual Neil Diamond story that I wasn't sure I wanted to watch it when it came to streaming. However, Kate Hudson received Golden Globe, SAG-AFTRA, BAFTA, and Oscar nominations for her portrayal of Claire, so I had to check it out. Although there's tragic moments in their lives, overall it's a feel-good movie. The musical numbers will make you smile and want to sing along, and I'm not just talking about Sweet Caroline. Hugh Jackman does an amazing job of channeling Mike, channeling Neil Diamond. And we know from other films that Jackman can sing well. But on a few occasions, I thought I detected him deliberately singing ever so slightly off-key, which added to the realism of the performance. Claire not only sings backup to her husband, but she also sings classic songs by Patsy Cline. Kate Hudson also does all of her own singing in the film and never misses a note. In preparation for the role, she stopped using her usual skincare regimen, which had included occasional Botox injections. She also gained 15 pounds for the role. The original documentary is available for free on YouTube, and I've provided a link. Most of the major plot points in this drama follow the true story depicted in the documentary. Writer-director Craig Brewer only takes a few dramatic licenses with the ending of the story. You can't help but root for this hard-luck couple. Mike is a part-time auto mechanic, a Vietnam veteran, and a recovering alcoholic who has been sober for 20 years as the movie opens. He has a teenage daughter from a previous marriage who visits occasionally. Claire is a single mom with a teenage daughter and a preteen son. She tries to make ends meet working as a hairdresser. In the documentary, it says that at one point she was on welfare. You journey with them through the highs and the lows. Their good-hearted yet less than competent manager, played by Jim Belushi, accidentally books them in a biker bar, and a fight nearly breaks out when someone in the crowd yells, "Neil Diamond sucks." They bounce back from this setback when Eddie Vedder invites them to open for Pearl Jam at a Milwaukee concert. And both of these incidents are depicted in the documentary. Just when you think their careers might be ready to take off, Claire is hit by a car in her front yard as she's working in her flower garden. She loses her lower leg to the accident and falls into a deep depression and becomes dependent on pain medication, which leaves her listless and lifeless. Meanwhile, Mike struggles to stay sober and battles a heart condition. For several days after watching the film, I couldn't stop humming Neil Diamond songs. And just when I managed to get the songs out of my head, my sister watched the film, and all of that came back again for several days. You're going to laugh and cry and be thoroughly entertained by the film. I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's currently available to stream on Peacock TV and to rent or purchase on Amazon and other services. I could also recommend you watch the documentary. I want to give a brief note about some of the special effects. For fans of special effects like me, I know that giving a person an amputated limb is relatively easy. You put a green sock over the limb, which lets you easily edit it out, and then you add a CGI stump. But there's one scene where Claire is lying in bed and reaches down to scratch the end of her stump. I'm not sure how they did it. It left me with the impression that the special effects artists deliberately did it to make people like me wonder how they did it. As previously mentioned, Kate Hudson is nominated for the Best Actress Oscar. IMDb reports 13 nominations and 4 wins. On an estimated budget of $30 million, it earned $39 million in the US and Canada and $57 million worldwide. Our remaining films in this episode are not as uplifting as Song Sung Blue. And while we're covering films with the word blue in the title, let's look at Blue Moon. Director Richard Linklater and Ethan Hawke team up for their 9th film together. In this biopic, Hawke plays legendary Broadway lyricist Lorenz Hart, who with Richard Rodgers wrote 28 musicals and over 500 songs. This film has been in development for over a decade. Linklater wanted Hawke for the part, but concluded he wasn't old enough for the role. So they waited 10 years and spent time polishing the script. Now that may seem like a long time, but consider that in one of their previous collaborations, Boyhood, they spread filming over 12 years so that the main character could gradually age throughout the movie, without being recast. In this film, we learn that Lorenz Hart struggled with alcoholism and had a poor work ethic, which led Rodgers to team up with lyricist Oscar Hammerstein to create the hit musical Oklahoma. The entirety of the film depicts the events of March 31st, 1943, the opening night of Oklahoma. Hart wanders out of the theater before the play finishes and goes to the famous Sardi's restaurant, where preparations are underway for a party to celebrate the opening of the musical. There he drinks and pours out his soul to the bartender, played by Bobby Carnival, also to a piano player and a delivery boy. And he also discusses the art of writing with the famous author E.B. White. Hart reveals his infatuation with Elizabeth Wheeland, a 20-year-old Yale art student and an aspiring production designer. After months of correspondence and an unconsummated weekend with Elizabeth, the 47-year-old Hart believes that this might be the night he finally wins her love. Screenwriter Robert Kaplow based the story on letters that Hart and Wheeland exchanged, but I don't believe there's any claim that the events depicted in the film actually occurred. For example, there's no evidence he ever met E.B. White. Kaplow is nominated for Best Original Screenplay, which is very much deserved. I'm confused about why this isn't an adapted screenplay, given that it is based on the correspondence between Hart and Wheeland. I mean, give me a break. A couple of years ago, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach were nominated for adapted screenplay just because the character Barbie was created by someone else. It wasn't based on a Barbie movie, a Barbie TV show, or a Barbie book. This was a highly original take on the character. Oh well. In this amazing screenplay and the performances, we are treated to a magnificent exploration of the art of writing and the sad story of a lonely man who sees his career coming to an end. There are heartbreaking exchanges between him and Richard Rodgers, as Hart tries to pitch him the idea for a musical about Marco Polo, with a love story that parallels his obsession with young Elizabeth. Rogers suggests they collaborate on a revival of their musical A Connecticut Yankee, but he shows no interest in any other collaborations. In real life, they did revive an updated version of Connecticut Yankee later in 1943. It was their final collaboration. 7 months after the premiere of Oklahoma, Hart collapsed in the street and died a few days later. Ethan Hawke delivers a truly Oscar-worthy performance. I thoroughly enjoyed his depiction of such a tragic character. I don't think he has much of a chance against his other nominees, which include Leonardo DiCaprio, Timothée Chalamet, and Michael B. Jordan. Given the opportunity, Hawke would be getting my vote. In real life, Lorenz Hart stood just under 5 feet tall, and the filmmakers used a variety of practical special effects to make other actors tower over Hart, including having Ethan Hawke stand in a trench. At times, I found this distracting, and it pulled me out of the story. Other than that, I loved it. IMDb reports 73 nominations and 15 wins. The made-for-Netflix film only earned $3 million worldwide, but is still available for streaming on that platform. Our final nominated film for this episode is Sentimental Value. This is a Norwegian film with dialogue in Norwegian, French, and English. I watched it with English subtitles. It's the story of 2 sisters, Agnes and Nora, who are estranged from their father, Gustav, who divorced their mother when they were children. There's a voiceover narration at the beginning of the film that tells the story of this family from the perspective of the house that they live in. We see the sisters' relationship and the falling out between their parents, which leads to Gustav leaving. We jump ahead to find adult Nora is a successful stage actress who suffers from nearly debilitating bouts of stage fright. Agnes is married and has a young son, Eric. She works as a historian. When their mother passes away, their father Gustav, played by Stellan Skarsgård, returns to their lives because their childhood home is still in his name. He is a renowned filmmaker who's struggling to get his films made late in his career. He's written a film about his mother, who was a resistance fighter against the Nazis during World War II. She had committed suicide in that home. Gustav wants to film his movie in the home and tries to recruit his actress daughter, Nora, to the role. She cannot forgive him for abandoning them when she was a child, and refuses to even read the script. Agnes is only slightly open to a relationship with her father, and he quickly develops a relationship with Eric, his grandson. Later in the film, he tries to recruit the boy to play the young Gustav in the new film. Agnes had had a part in one of his earlier films as a child, even though it was her sister who went on to have a career as an actress. Along the way, Gustav meets a famous young American actress, Rachel, portrayed by Elle Fanning, and she agrees to play the role that Agnes turned down. The problem is, if she takes the part, the film will have to be made in English, and they debate whether she should attempt a Norwegian accent. The film is filled with deeply dramatic scenes as the daughters and their father struggle to reconcile their pasts. There are quality performances all around. It's received 9 Oscar nominations: Best Picture, Best Foreign Picture, Best Lead Actress for Nate Rensave as Nora, Best Supporting Actress for both Elle Fanning and England Isboter Lilius as Agnes. I won't promise I pronounced that right. Also, Best Supporting Actor for Stellan Skarsgård as Gustav, Director Joachim Trier as Best Director nomination, and with co-author Eskil Voigt has earned a Best Original Screenplay nomination. Additionally, it earned an Oscar nomination for film editing. All of the performances are worthy of their nominations. Again, I have to complain about the categories. Skarsgård is nominated for a supporting actor, and indeed the story is primarily about the daughters. However, he's the most prominent male character in the story. Does that not make him a lead actor? IMDb lists 297 nominations and 64 wins, with an estimated budget of $7.8 million. It earned only $5 million in the US and Canada, but its worldwide total was a respectable $21.4 million. It's not yet available for streaming, but can be rented or purchased through Amazon and other digital download sources. Even after I told you about all of the Oscar nominations it received, and that they are well deserved, watching a 2-hour 13-minute movie in Norwegian, subtitled in English, might not be your cup of tea. Let me offer you a similar alternative. The Netflix film J. Kelly stars George Clooney and Adam Sandler, both of whom received Golden Globe nominations for their performances. Clooney plays the title character, a famous actor whose career sounds a lot like George Clooney's. He isn't exactly playing himself, but it's not at all difficult to find him credible in this role. After decades of success, he begins to realize that life is passing him by. And like Gustav in our previous film, he tries to reconnect with his 2 adult daughters. He decides to ditch his commitments to his next film and chase his daughter across Europe as she travels with friends before going off to college. He wants to reconnect with her and make up for lost time. Adam Sandler plays his manager, Laura Dern is his publicist, and Billy Crudup plays an old friend who blames Jay for stealing a role from him when they were young, struggling actors together. Like several of the films I've reviewed over the past 2 years, this one explores the cost to those who attach themselves to driven people. We get plenty of drama as Kelly struggles with his life choices and his unsuccessful attempts to reconcile things with his daughters. However, this is mitigated by many comedic moments that help carry you through this relatively dark storyline. Director Noah Baumbach blends flashback scenes with current scenes as Kelly physically walks through his past, much like Scrooge is led through the scenes from his past by the ghost of Christmas. Baumbach co-wrote the screenplay with Emily Mortimer, who has a small role as Kelly's hairdresser. Although Oscar passed it over, IMDb lists 37 nominations and 12 wins. IMDb does not list any budget or income figures for this film. It was screened at multiple film festivals and saw only limited release in theaters. It's currently available for streaming on Netflix. I highly recommend it, especially if sentimental value doesn't appeal to you. This film is much more accessible and entertaining while remaining a poignant look at the struggles of balancing a career in show business with family relationships. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. In my next installment, I'll take a look at 4 films that were perhaps my least favorite of the bunch, even though one of them is a major contender for multiple awards. So as always, if you find this podcast educational, entertaining, enlightening, or even inspiring, consider sponsoring me on Patreon for just $5 per month. You'll get early access to the podcast and other exclusive content. I'm not in this for the money, but every little bit helps. As always, my deepest thanks to my financial supporters. That means more to me than I could ever express. And if you can't support me, please post links and share this on social media so I can grow my audience. I just want more people to hear my work. The back episodes are available, so check those out. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, feel free to comment and let me know what you thought of these movies. I'll see you next time as we continue contemplating life. Until then, fly safe, everyone.